We are excited to be able to work with you again. This is, I'm trying to remember, it's like 17th, 18th time at bat doing live at AEA. Actually looked at some of the early stuff we did years and years ago, and it was shocking just what we were able to get away with at that point with stone knives and bear skins, or so it seemed at the time. But the gear has matured. My staff has done an extraordinary job, and we have been proud and pleased to present things like yesterday's NPI and the opening speeches and discussions to you. We will continue to do so as long as we're allowed to do so, and more important than anything else, in support of an industry that supports all of aviation to its utmost. Starting off at bat, we've got David Gray, president of SEND, and more than anything else, a real innovator. You've done some really cool stuff. So tell me what's new.
Well, we came to show, first of all, we changed our name.
Yeah.
And we make AirTex, which is our base core product, but we started to make other products, Oasis and some other things for the military, and so we were expanding the company. So we said SEND, that's a great name for the company. So we changed our name. We made some incremental improvements to existing products, our map product. We continue to update software, and you know, the incremental improvement is what gives you longevity, and the customers love it. Literally, we have about 1,800 products that are out, and I have 0 in-house to be repaired. That's a good state of mind and a good place to be.
Good for the budget too.
That's good for the budget, but makes a lot of crews and mechanics and folks, installers, makes them happy that their customers are happy. So I want to start off and just show you, some of the improvements that we made. One of the things, and I say that what we have now, I don't know if this will show very well, but basically we now have a 3D presentation of what the airplane is doing in flight. And this will be mounted up on the bulkhead. So we have 3D map. This is an example. Here's another airplane, a King Air. Here's another airplane, a Learjet. But those are just some of the examples. And I say it's stunning because the graphics, the 3D images that we get from satellite, mapping, a lot of times as pilots, we get to see all that up front, but the people in the back are just seeing some old blasé map. So we're able to go in a retrofit type circumstance, mount this right to the bulkhead of the airplane. So it's less than a ½ inch thick. Of course, we're using iPads, but this, I was in the display business for 20 years, and this iPad has got a tandem OLED, and the quality of the presentation, the pixels, the things we used to talk about in pixels, it's way surpasses what anybody else does. And if it changes in the future, we can just make a change to the mount and drop in that one. So it's really economical. It's a quality presentation. Essentially, the pilot just puts in his flight plan and doesn't have to touch the display. It turns itself off, goes through all the rotations, and has a lot of customized things that can go in. But the big deal was the 3D and the mount. So you could put this in, and we've done this size in Falcon 900s and lower. Mm-hmm. And we can get them into smaller jets. And then we have, of course, Apple makes a product, the Mini, that you can actually do it in a Mini on a very, very small bulkhead in some airplanes. Can be mounted either portrait or a landscape presentation. So that's neat. We did that all in-house.
Okay.
We didn't go outside and contract some other firm to do this, and that makes me real proud of the quality of products that we're having. Our base product is a product called AirTex, and AirTex is a 1-pound box, provides texting, email, textual email, and voice calling anywhere in the world in 10 seconds. So it's just amazing to me. You could be, we have customers all around the globe, and that they can send and receive a message we could send to them and in 10 seconds. I mean, we can assume a lot, but to me, there's a little bit of magic involved. And all that comes from a little bitty antenna on the airplane. And this is unique to our
put
product.
that one anywhere.
Yes, and some airplanes actually come with an iridium antenna already. Older systems, have evolved, and now ours is taking over that space of iridium. So, I tell people, you got the world in the palm of your hand. So, and that's true. I mean, a lot of people don't need full-on broadband internet because it's expensive. And where that's headed, if you follow the industry, it's going to, we talked earlier about Starlink and SpaceX and that, but they make an excellent product. They've got it on some airlines. I've flown it on JSX and lots of broadband, but the fees are about $10,000 a month. And we charge $500 a year, and that covers the first 2,500 texts. It's a nickel a text, just like it's been ever since I started some 8 years ago selling this, a nickel a text. And then your phone is about $1.65 a minute. So it's a really, really neat product, and we keep on enhancing it.
Well, it's certainly competitive in an area right now that's getting more competitive by the day. The airborne communication wars are fun to watch.
They are, and
a few of the competitors that we've seen in the past are long gone.
There's some consolidation, and there's some that are exiting, and I'm we'll see.
And one or two kaput, yeah.
I believe that they're all competing for this wide, unlimited broadband. But think about this. Several of the companies have set up their structure, unlimited broadband, $10,000 a month. Now there are certain corporations that need unlimited broadband. There's people that are day traders, or they're in the media business like yourself, and they need that streaming and the quantity of information.
Oh yeah, 10,000 is nothing to us.
Well,
yeah, seriously.
You could park a BBJ in a hangar. When the price of your connectivity starts to affect your direct operating costs, which happens in the smaller airplanes,
amen to that.
Then that's where we come in. And I think we're in a certain margin and a certain part of the business that is going to be solid for a long time.
Well, especially if you keep innovating the way you have.
Well, which brings us to the next innovation, I guess.
Da-da-da-da-da.
Okay, so because we go to a lot of shows that you go to, Oshkosh, NBAA to AEA, we talk to a lot of operators. And the operators love the digital ATIS. Digital ATIS, for those that aren't aware, is a tremendous pilot tool, huge safety tool, because you can receive digital ATIS in the sense that we have an Iridium product anywhere in the world. You can request it and get that information. If you have internet, you can of course request and get that information. But digital ATIS is only available in the United States at I think 76 airports. And those are usually your large volume, commercial, heavy iron kind of airport. Well, corporate aviation goes to a lot more airports. They're towered airports, and they have something called ATIS, which is not digital, but it's an analog. You're listening to a recording.
Yeah, that hasn't changed since the Stone Age.
No, it hasn't. And so the limitations there are if there's any terrain in the area, that's going to block the signal. So I'll give an example. I have a customer that flies
a little problem called line of sight.
It is line of sight, exactly. So
details.
I have a customer that flies from Colorado Springs, and we know there's mountains there, and then he flies out here to Phoenix, to Deer Valley, and in Deer Valley is in a bowl out here. So it's mountainous. So in both areas, he gets a blocked signal depending upon which way he's headed. So we've come up with a way, which I think is very ingenious, and that is to capture the audio, and then using AI, we transcript it, and then we send it up to the airplane as a textual. Just like a digital ATIS, So what we supply is information Bravo. We put either the METAR, which is a broadcast once an hour, or if they have ASOS, which is broadcast every 5 minutes, we put that out, and then we give them the approach and landing runways, and then again information Bravo if that was a phonetic coding. So it's not it's an advisory nature, and the purpose of that is oftentimes the airplanes are being let down about 200 miles away from their destination. They, if you're up at 40,000 feet, 35,000 feet, you're coming down. Well,
you're not going to get bupkis out there.
No, you're not going to receive anything. But if the pilot can enter in the approach, I've got ILS 27 right. That takes a whole bunch of burden off the pilot, because normally what would happen, you come in, you try to receive it. Sometimes those transmissions are 30 seconds long, and somebody steps over and you miss it. And so you got to try to listen to it again. Or I've been landing at Memphis when the ATIS is changing several times because of weather, and FedEx is coming in to land, and there's just so much activity going on. So pilots see this as a big safety factor, and the Citation Jet Pilot Safety Committee has been working with me, and we developed this.
Pretty sharp folks.
Oh, they're very sharp. The head of that is also on EAA's safety committee and MBAA's safety committee. And so they've been working with me to get this going. We now have 150 airports, and we are putting out, we can add on additional airports as we put this little device in an FBO or someplace on the airport to listen to it, and then they transmit that back to us.
Outstanding. What is your research and development process? Everybody has an interesting way of going about researching a new product, or even conceiving of the need for a new product. What's your process like?
Well, we stay in touch with our customers, and we will bounce ideas off the customers, or the customer will have an idea and they'll bring it to us, and then we'll bounce that with other customers. And so we try to say, okay, that makes sense. It's got to make sense, right? And then we're going to spend some money. We're going to prototype it. We're going to see what they think. Are we on the right track? And then eventually, then we'll bring it to market. And so this new product, this MyTIS, is available to our AirTex customers today. The first week of April, it'll be available to everybody through any connectivity. So if you have GoGo, Inmarsat, or some other system, you can go on the internet and get it through FBO link.
So it's pretty much agnostic, isn't it?
It is. It's meant for everybody. So through a free app that we have called FBO Link, which helps you connect to the FBOs when you're flying. See, what we're trying to do here is keep you heads up. Talking to an FBO as you're going into land is not the best thing.
No, you got other things on your mind.
You got other things going on. So it's an iterative process with our customer base. It has to make sense, and then we have to kind of figure out a way to get it accomplished.
Well, I'll tell you what, some interesting ideas from somebody who spent a fair amount of time in the system. The more information you can get me when I need it, rather than when I just, accidentally have it while I'm in the middle of something else.
Right.
That's having control over your information. I guess it's the name of the game here.
Or staying ahead of the airplane, right?
Well,
how basic is that? And so whenever you go into an approach, and oh my gosh, I got to get the ATIS, and I got to listen, and you're not in control, that's where it gets a little hairy.
Could be tough. How has AEA 2025 treated you? What do you think about the community this year?
That's good. It's hard to get people to come to the show. It depends geographically where you're at, whether someone can take the time from the East Coast to fly all the way over here. But all that being said, we've seen people from overseas come here. So it's been a good show. I just talked to a fellow from New Zealand and seen some folks from some other countries, some folks from Turkey today. And so it's interesting to get their feedback and see what's happening around the world. Overall, it's been real good for us to meet with engineering, to talk to some of the director level type people at other companies, and just the installation facilities. Like, oh, I put your stuff in, it works great, you know, and so-and-so was such a big help. It's all about culture of the company. And since I'm an old guy, I've kind of implanted the culture that, you know, customer comes first, you know, quality equipment, and, you know, it's been good.
Excellent. Well, it's one of the things that we've been able to give back to the industry is not everybody can make it out to these things. And I got a very nice note, for instance, yesterday, Mark Schroyer at PS Engineering stayed home on this one, but he said, yeah, we were watching the MPI and all the presentations. There's 16 of us in the office watching it here, so we stayed in touch.
Yep.
So at least we're helping the industry to keep in touch in that particular regard.
Absolutely.
Washington is an interesting game right now. If you had the chance to speak to the powers that be in Washington as we nominate a new FAA administrator, as we break in a new Secretary of Transportation, and a whole lot of people up and downstream of the president, what advice would you give them about how to really help this industry in ways we haven't seen in a while?
Oh, well.
And we're pumping this right to Donald, by the way.
Yeah, we get.
We know he's a viewer. Hi, Donald.
We get in our own way as far as the government is concerned, and so we have a tendency to try to over-control some things. If you go out there, there's plenty of ideas. Mm-hmm. There's plenty of innovation. You know, the things I'm talking to you today don't even reflect what's on the to-do list. I mean, we're in process with other products in the STC process, and as you know, that can take time. And so it just so happens that the last 2 STCs that we've worked on, we've had new technicians coming into the FAA, and so that delays the process. Whereas, you know, we've been making a product for many, many years, and we understand the process maybe better than the new people do, mm-hmm. and we use the system, it still puts delays, allowing us to get information out. There are several things that we can do to bring to every airplane so we get off the radios more and we get back to communicating. This device that we all carry around is amazing. The processing power, the ability to capture data like we're doing with the MITIS and other things, it allows you to research that when the traffic's gone away, when time, you know, you do it at your time, not necessarily the crunch time that the analog system would create. One thing that I have a friend who's, he works in a tower, and it is true that the towers are using computers that are updated by a floppy disk. Oh, yeah. And so we are way behind the whole scene. And then the other thing is as you know, last year I talked about spoofing, and I came out with a spoofing software enhancement to my product. We're still very vulnerable there, and I think we could do more. And I'm aware, you know, just like the floppy disk, that we're behind the power line.
Well, David Gray, president of Send, I appreciate you spending some time with us. We will be waiting for the next press release. Obviously, it's in the works.
Yes.
I get a kick out of, there's a couple of companies you just got to watch. And yours is one of them because you just come up with the damnedest ideas. Yeah. And it moves aviation forward. Sometimes incrementally, sometimes bigger leaps, but the name of the game is forward rather than reverse. Right. David, thank you so much for your time. I appreciate it.
Thank you, Joe.
Aero-News Network's coverage of the 68th Annual AEA International Convention and Trade Show, live from Phoenix, Arizona, is brought to you in part by the following sponsors.
The future of USB charging power has arrived. Introducing new, ultra-fast charging TA360 USB chargers. Unlock the power of USB Power Delivery PD technology. max power. Multiple configurations. In-seat cabin, cockpit, and galley USB power, and a direct upgrade for all True Blue Power USB chargers, compatible with any USB electronic device. Easy to install, backed by the best. True Blue Power, the USB experts.